Hey loves! So this is the second part of the story that we need to have a little go at. Damn it. So, started the first bit, the giant woman. The story so far is that these kids are on the run from this kind of crazy old lady's house. One of them's fallen over and cut open her leg, all this sort of stuff. And then the next bit of the story describes this old woman and what she's really like. So here we go. So there lived this giant woman, it says. A wide face, brown and leathery, wrinkled as an old glove. A head that seemed enormous, too heavy for her thin neck, and the grey hair wild and frizzed about it. Shoulders broad as a man's, the chest sunken with age, but the stomach and hips mammoth, flabby, and the thin, dead white legs still muscular. Sometimes she was seen walking along the road as far away as Rockland, 15 miles to the south. A few times we saw her in the little town of Derby, 18 miles away, walking quickly along, her head down, muttering to herself. She usually carried bundles of some kind and a satchel that seemed to be made of canvas. At such times she might glance up as ordinary people do, quizzical, attentive, and the eyes in that broad, big face were shiny black, round, slightly protruding, which means sticking out. Her expression would shift into a look of wonder and expectation, but then for some reason the eyes narrowed to slits, the face closed, stiffened, and the line of the mouth would become contemptuous and jeering, and she would mutter something inaudible. "She hates us. She's always yelling at us. Why does she hate us?" I asked. "She's no harm, is she?" my father said. He helped my mother with the wash, hanging the heavy things on the line, careful that the sheets and quilts did not touch the ground. My mother was pregnant. That was the summer she was pregnant for the 5th time. The baby was to be Jordan, the last child in the family. "She's no harm to you, is she? Just stay away from her. Let her be. She's older than your grandmother. She won't hurt any of you." "Why does she hate us?" "She hates everyone," he said indifferently. "She can't help it." She lived alone in a decaying farmhouse. She had sold off most of her land, had only a few acres now, kept to herself, and rejected any of her neighbours' offers of help. She never spoke to anyone. She simply signalled angry dismissal. No shouting at adults, only her big arms folded across her breasts, her head jerking from side to side, an inaudible mutter that might have been in a foreign language or in no language at all. Why does she live alone? Isn't she afraid to live alone? Why does she live back there, so far from the road? Why does she hate us? None of the roads in our part of the county were paved then, but the road she lived on dwindled into a mere lane, a cow path that was muddy in spring and in winter impassable for weeks on end, weeks at a time, The snow could drift as high as 12 feet, blown into odd, slanted mountains and valleys, fanning out from the oaks and the sycamores that lined the lane, and no snow ploughs bothered with it. The road hadn't even a name. People referred to it as the Mueller Road, but it had no name, no signpost. Why won't she let us cross her property? She's old, she's sick, she's not like other people. Don't ask so many questions, they said. I did not tell them about Donna and Albert and me, because obviously they'd been trespassing or going across her farmland, I guess. What if she dies way back there? Wouldn't she be afraid, all alone? How could there be a funeral for her? How would people know about it? But that's nobody's business, what she wants to do. Wouldn't she be afraid? She isn't afraid of anything. People told stories about her. There were people who knew more than my parents. Even my grandmother knew more. They said that she had let someone die. They said she was like a murderer. It was the same as murder, wasn't it, what she had done? Donna said it was her little boy, just my age. The old woman had let him die somehow and hadn't even told people about it. The way that you're supposed to notify the doctor and the sheriff and other people in town when something bad happens. She'd let the little boy die, a 5-year-old boy, and then she had buried him herself, dug the grave at the end of the cornfield down the hill from the back of her house, and put the little boy in it and covered him up with dirt. "That's what she'll do to you if she catches you," Donna said suddenly. "She'll dig a grave and push you in and fill it up again with that nasty dried up old dirt." But I didn't cry. I wasn't going to cry. I wasn't afraid. Alright, so there's a few more pages, about another 24 to 12, about another 12 pages actually. It's quite a long story. But the key question for this bit is, what do we learn about the old woman and how do we know? So what do people say about her, and what different kinds of interpretations or what different kinds of versions of the old woman do we get compared to what we've seen at the start of the story, which is the kids running away in fear and being scared of her. Alright, there we go. Bye, loves!